Welcome back, Nerd Squad. What if Rocket Raccoon and Groot became babies? Would Baby Rocket be an adorable raccoon tinkering with tiny gadgets? And would Baby Groot still be able to grow and say his famous line, "I am Groot"? First, let's talk about Rocket. Even as a baby, he'd be both cute and dangerous. You can't help but imagine a crib full of half-built gadgets, discarded armor pieces, and maybe even a toy blaster or two. Rocket is a genetically engineered raccoon with a genius-level intellect, so it's safe to say that even as a baby he'd be smarter than the average infant. But being a baby doesn't mean he'd be any less grumpy. Just imagine an endless stream of angry squeaks and cries in the middle of the night. That'd make for some pretty tough days for whoever was watching him. Maybe Baby Rocket would take after Tony Stark and spend his days building cool tech and his nights destroying his parents' house. We know that Rocket loves tinkering and experimenting, so who knows what kind of inventions he'd come up with if he had a whole lab at his disposal. Maybe he'd create a self-destruct helmet that he could use to blow up all of his enemies. Or perhaps a shrinking ray that would allow him to turn anyone into prey. The possibilities are really endless when it comes to this little guy. Now let's move on to Groot. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 we got to see a baby version of Groot and it was adorable. But what would it be like if he were even younger? When we first met Groot, he was already a fully grown tree-like creature who could walk and talk and even sacrifice himself to save his friends. But before that, he was just a small sapling. Baby Groot would still only be able to say, "I am Groot," but that wouldn't stop him from expressing himself. Picture him as a tiny tree toddler running around with a bottle in one hand and a branch in the other. He'd probably use his natural abilities to cause all sorts of mischief, like growing vines to trip up his enemies or using his bark-like skin to camouflage himself. We've already seen how strong and resilient Groot is as a baby. In the comics there's even a version of Groot known as Baby Groot, so we know that he'd be no match for anyone who dared to harm him. Plus, he's got a heart of gold and a love for his friends that's impossible not to root for. Together, Baby Rocket and Baby Groot would be quite the pair. A tiny grumpy tech genius and the cutest but most unpredictable tree toddler. They'd cause all sorts of chaos wherever they went, but they'd also be incredibly lovable. Just imagine them causing mischief in the nursery, building their own little treehouse or going on imaginary adventures through the stars. It would be an adorable and hilarious sight to see them play. Of course, the Guardians would need some serious babysitters to keep up with these two. Maybe Drax could take some time away from the team to become a stay-at-home dad. Or maybe Yondu could swoop in to save the day with his trusty Finn and Arrow. Whoever ends up taking care of these two rascals is in for a wild ride. So what do you think? Would you want to see a Baby Rocket and Groot in the MCU? Which Guardian would be the best babysitter? Let us know your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been your host,